Hey everybody. So this is the day or 2 days after Thanksgiving, and I did something stupid. So those of you who follow me know that I had a nice 77-inch OLED by LG, the C1, that was hanging on this wall. So um, I have been chasing for a minute. Something that I've talked about in the comments, that given the size of my room and my sitting position, which is way over there, 21, 22 feet away, um, the television, even though it was 77 inches, was just too small for a full immersive cinematic experience. So I've been bouncing back and forth for almost a year now that these 100-inch televisions have come into play, because before then, projector was only the only real way to make that work. Um, I didn't want to mount a projector on the ceiling because I have a ceiling fan there, and that's the only way to really keep it out of the way so that you don't have people walking in between your projector and those type of things. So, um, for the size room, the actual screen size from that distance is somewhere in the neighborhood of about 135 inches is what would be the optimal screen size for that seating distance. And again, projector is the only way to do that. But if I look here, because I have my Atmos speakers up there, the widest I can get is about 120-inch screen. But um, that also leads to other considerations. So in the last 2 to 3 years, also, no, particularly in the last 2 years, ultra short throw projector technology has really advanced into some really fancy stuff. So I was considering getting one of those and a screen, but it's the same problem you have with all projectors. I used to have a projector in my movie room upstairs, which is now fully converted into an office post COVID. Is the You have a lot of expense. Well, you have an added expense. So with the television, you have one device that you have to purchase. With a projector, you've got to buy a screen, and you also got to buy the projector, and you have to mount both of them. There's also distance issues that you have, because you have to make sure that the throw distance, how far the projector is away from the screen, is optimal for the size screen that you have. So there's considerations. You have to, in some cases, depending on the room, whereas a television, you can pretty much put it on the wall. As long as you get it centered to the viewing distance, you're fine, or to the viewing angle, you're fine. Um, Whereas or I should say, the seated or optimal viewing position with a projector, in some cases, you almost have to build a room around it. I know that sounds a little extreme, and I've had people in the past question me on that, but yeah, you have to take the projector, you have to put it up, you have to get it into the right configuration, get the screen in the right configuration, and you also have to buy the correct screen. So in some cases, that means you have to get an ALR, and there are different types. You have the Fresnel types, which those are light rejecting, but in a different way. It forces all of it into a conical shape, but that also means your viewing angles are squashed. Um, you can get other methods. You also want to make sure you get a gray. Here's one of the problems with that. All of those things said, sorry, adjusting my camera. All of those things said, one of the major problems you have with a projector is that they are reflective. And that means that they have to be bright, number one, for you to actually be able to benefit from them. They are reflected off of the surface, so the surface actually has to have light, has to be highly reflective for that to happen. You also have a limit of how black the images can be. So the difference between black and white is essentially what your contrast is. So if you go into your television or to your projector, brightness equals white, contrast equals black. The lower your black floor means the more contrast because it makes the colors pop more. It's um, it's just the way color works in general, or the way light works. I mean, be careful because color and light are different. Um, so as we apply those principles, you do have a consideration for how a reflective surface, how bright it can be versus how bright a self-emissive surface can be. So the greatest example for that is in the sky. So the moon is a reflected light surface. So it is essentially a huge projector screen that reflects the light of the sun. So the sun reflects the light onto the moon's surface, which is a gray surface, coincidentally, and it can get quite bright where it lights up the night, but it never is as bright as when the sun, which is a self-emissive surface, that is, think about this, further away from us than the moon is. So you're talking a distance of 250,000 miles with the moon, or 250,000 miles. I want to make sure I say that again, 250-ish, about 238,000 miles as opposed to 92.7 million miles away. And the self-emissive light of the sun not only is bright enough to light our day to where we can see the things we see, but also to irradiate heat from that position onto all of us. So that's the difference between those. So televisions would be more like the sun, and projectors are more like the moon, where the sun is the projector itself, and the screen or the wall is the moon, where it's reflecting. All of that said, there is just a principle of light and physics where you lose light in the transmission from the source, the light source, to the screen and then to your eye. And depending on the distance and the ambient light around you, you lose even more distance. It's an impedance factor. So all of those things said, I considered the projector, which I love projectors. I have no shade on projectors. But once television screens got to be a certain size, they started to make less and less sense. Now, I say that up to a point. Up and until really 2024, a projector, pound for pound, even with the additional screen, was going to be less money overall at 100 inches or more than a projector. So an 85-inch television was probably the sweet spot for most people's budgets. Well, 100-inch, and this is actually a 98-inch for those who are going to people pinch at me, nitpick, is probably the sweet spot budget. They've all reached it. Even the higher end, best quality 100-inch televisions coming out of Chinese manufacturers or Taiwanese manufacturers such as TCL and Hisense, and even putting pressure onto the Korean manufacturers such as Samsung and LG to do so. So now that we've settled going to the television debate, remember, OLED. OLED still today gives you the best picture than any other type of display technology available. You can debate that if you want, but it's just a fact that you're going to come to that conclusion at some point. So the other piece of that is that we have LED technology, which has gotten a lot better. And so now that we've gotten into mini LED, micro LED is here, but it is a little bit out of reach. You got RGB, micro and mini LED, which means that not only are the not you don't necessarily need to have a light source. You have mini LEDs and micro LEDs that are the actual pixels themselves, as opposed to being the light sources. The way that this works is that there's a huge light source in the back. So think of it as a projector in reverse. And those light are just mini LEDs, really small ones. And they shine into a series of color filters, for lack of a better term. And those color filters give you the colors that you see. I'm oversimplifying this, but that's pretty much how it works. So the light has to pass through all of those things to your eye, which means that the light on the back has to be bright because it's passing through all of those things. Whereas OLED, the actual substrate is the same. It's organic substrate that is actually emitting its own light directly. So it's a direct lit premise, and because of that, yes, they don't typically get as bright as a rear light source like this, but the color accuracy, the speed at which they actually move, the latency, all of those things are superior on an OLED because they're self-emitting. They can turn themselves off, and the substrate technically is black. So when the TV is on or the TV is off, it is the same color. It is black, right? Um, Big deal. So I decided to go with a quantum or a QLED, mini LED television. I looked at the Samsungs very hard. Well, let me go back. One more thing about OLED. So, again, jonesing for OLED. Wanted to get an OLED that was big, but a OLED at 97 inches, which they do exist, is a car payment here in the U.S. That is not an exaggeration. They're $15,000 to $20,000, and they are sellable. They are available. I know the G series has one from LG, and Samsung also has one. So those are the kind of things that we're looking at with pricing. Whereas this is a fifth of the price on sale. All right, a third at regular price. So as I go through my search, I kept there's really two brands in this market. Um, there's the Hisense, and then there's this guy, the TLC or TCL, TLC. They must be talking about me. So anyway, rest in peace, Left Eye. So I chose the TCL because after doing my research, what I needed to know is they both have their advantages. They're both very close to each other. But the advantage for me, and again, this is a decision that you have to make of brightness and white color, color accuracy, all those type of things. Which one of these gives you the most or the closest comparison to OLED? If I had an OLED television, which I do, and I've already taken it to the bedroom, we're gonna put it upstairs, and we're gonna do our television Jenga with the OLED in the bedroom. The 65 inch will go into one of the boys' rooms, and vice versa, all the way around. How do I get that same experience? Because I know me, if this television doesn't perform close enough to the OLEDs, it's going back. So in my research, the TCL QM8K, which is what this is, 98 inches, gives the closest on the market to an OLED-like experience. And it's been running the whole time here with one of the videos, and I'll make sure I put the link in the description so I don't get a copyright thing, but it is performing up to par. I just ran a dirty screen test on it, and apparently this one doesn't have any, appear to have any or much dirty screen. I ran a couple of motion tests on it. There's a little jitter, which I think, according to what I've researched, the Hisense handle a little bit better. But as far as color accuracy and the screen actually showing black, dude, it is incredible. And last night, we really got to put it to the test last night, because again, with my Atmos system in my living room theater, having our IMAX-like experience last night, we watched F1, which I can't show you because fear of copyright infringement. Wow, we finally have a television in this space that gives a picture that matches the sound quality that we have in here. It was cinematic last night. Cinematic. Um, and one other thing is, again, with the television before, and this happened in Thanksgiving. So it arrived the day before Thanksgiving, and I had to go to Best Buy a couple times to get the right mount, because if you want to get this one, I can't speak for the Hisense, but with the TCL, um, TCL QM8K, this one, 98 inches, the Visa pattern on the back is a 600 by 500. So that is the actual measurement in millimeters. And it took me several iterations. Well, first I had ordered them out on Amazon, and the enshittification of Amazon as of late, they didn't deliver at all. They kept, oh, it's delayed. Although it says it's here in Jacksonville, for whatever reason, they couldn't get it to my house from the warehouse. So I went to Best Buy because I wanted this up by Thanksgiving. Um, they missed the first day, then they missed Wednesday. And so I was working Wednesday at my new gig. I got off and I started to try to get everything together. And wow, it was quite an ordeal. Number one, because this television is so big. It is massive. So I had to go back to Best Buy. I bought two different mounts. I got to return one. Hopefully today I'll get out there and return that mount so I can get that cash back. Went and bought another mount. It worked, but it has like adapters on it that'll make it fit that test pattern. The other problem is that the television out of the box is balanced well enough in the box until you put the mount on it. Once you put the mount on it, that little bit extra weight, and I say little bit, the mount is substantive. It is substantial, and it added weight to the television because I had to do a test fit to measure from the top of the mount to the top of the television to make sure I get this position correctly. Wow. And it actually tilted onto our table. So I had it, just to show you, it's probably dark, but I had it here, sitting on the floor here. You can probably see the indent right there on the floor. And what happened is my wife and I kept hearing this creaking sound while I was doing the measurements on the wall. And we're like, I don't know what that is. And all of a sudden the television just, bam. I was like, oh, goddamn. I thought that it was broken. Luckily, it wasn't. We slid it all the way over here to the living room area and just leaned it up against the sofa so it wouldn't fall backwards, give it something to prop up against. Took the cord out of the box and plugged it in over there so that I could test to see that it was still working, and it was. It lit up, it turned on, didn't see any cracks or anything like that, so sigh of relief. Yeah, it was an ordeal installing it. Whether and it took us a while. It may have been worth paying somebody to do it, which I'm not that guy. If I can do it myself with this, I've done it for years, I'll do it. But it is a case where opportunity cost wise, it may have been something I could have looked into, but I didn't, and I did consider it. So let's be clear, that is something I was going to pay for. And with Best Buy, it was free. The problem was it was going to take an extra 6 days to do it. And I wanted it up before Thanksgiving because, we got games, we got everything else, possibly even movie watching. So I wanted it up for, part of the family thing. And as you know, my home, because of the open floor plan, the television here not only is for this viewing area, which is primarily what it's for, it's also to be able to support the viewing area that I just showed you where the dining table is, but also here, excuse that bottle of hot sauce, in my kitchen. So all of those places have to be able to be entertained by this particular box. And because of the size, not a problem. Complaints about viewing angle, didn't see any. I sat and ate over there for Thanksgiving, sitting in family, kind of making the rounds and stuff. And as I sat over there, I think it was the Cowboys game. It was, yeah, no, it's not a fan anymore. So just for that comes up, but it was the Cowboys games, Thanksgiving. We watched it. I watched it from over there, and the viewing angle was perfect. Didn't have any issues. There may have been some washing out from the being outside of the cone of viewing, but it was negligible. So um, the my son and I, it took me all night to get it up. Finally, my son, I think it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. After I got the mount on, got it all measured, got the bracket, the wall bracket drilled into the studs. I didn't take a chance with any um, of the anchors I usually use because, American House, mostly drywall. Those are all in studs. And I put 8 of them in there just to make sure that it worked. And put the mount up. And then he and I lifted it, carried it from way over there over to here. And we just sat it on the wall. The television is so damn tall, or so big, because it's 4 feet from the top to the bottom is 4 feet. And the original mount that I ordered was a full motion mount. I prefer those mounts, particularly for large televisions, because you can pull them away from the wall to work on them, to plug things in, those type of things. I don't like flush mounts because of that purpose. Hence the problem. Once we got it up, because it's not quite a flush mount, but it is a tight mount, we couldn't get the damn thing plugged in or the lights plugged in. We had to use sticks and rods to move stuff around. So my son stood on top of a ladder and reached his arm back there to plug the television in. And then we also had to do the same thing for the lights, which smartly I put the lights on, started putting the lights on the back of the top back while it was on the ground, which is kind of another reason why it was taking so long to get it up. And then once I got everything strung where I got it here and then down this side, I left it because then I could work the rest myself, I figured, and I did. But from the position of this television, it is it's a great purchase. I'm pleased. This TCL QM8K is gorgeous. Now I did consider the 9K because it's so they got a 9K. Wow. But all the research I saw, it's not worth the extra $2,000 for the experience. It's brighter. I think it has slightly better processor, which gives you better motion, those type of things. But it's negligible. So with the 9 speakers, so this is technically what is it, a 7.2.2 Dolby Atmos sound. This picture coming in and even the light enhancements in here, this place is great. And as you can see, it is actually lighting up the entire room. One other thing that I will mention before I close is that typically we watch television in here, we close the blinds because of the OLED. And it's not that the OLED isn't bright enough. It was bright enough. I know that perception, it was plenty bright. The problem is that it's highly reflective. And so there were times when you would try to watch things and it was like watching a mirror that you can shave in. That is one of the drawbacks. There are newer OLEDs. Samsung, I know, has one. In the G series, I believe, has it also. They have non-reflective coatings on them, anti-reflective coatings. And apparently they're great. But again, expensive, don't have the size I want. And the next biggest size that I could probably afford in that $3,000, $4,000 range was that would be an 83-inch, but from 77 to 83 is not worth paying an extra $3,000. So no, if I'm going to pay that, I might as well go here. It's like the old adage, if I'm going to be a bear, I'm going to be a polar bear or grizzly. So I chose the polar bear in this case, um, of televisions, which is the TCL QM8K. So I can watch this. We had it Thanksgiving with every one of these blinds on. So I will, instead of, well, I'll just do it live. So I can open up all these blinds during the day. And this damn thing, as you can see how my camera has been blown out now. This is great YouTube, by the way. As you can see back there, those windows in the kitchen always are open because I don't have blinds on my glass sliding door. But I think that might be enough. There's no noticeable impact on that television. And it has an anti-reflective coating. If you do look like at certain angles, you can see a slight ghost image of the windows. Don't know if you can see that, but it's like in this corner over here, you can kind of see it. But it's bright enough where it's negligible, if at all been affected. One other thing is I've done no calibration. So whoever the person is in the TCL factory that's doing the calibration before it leaves, the quality control person, he needs a raise. I've done nothing. I have changed. This is on standard, by the way. I didn't go to filmmaker. I didn't go to movie mode, any of that. It is, but of course, if it receives one of those signals, it'll switch on its own, such as when we watched F1 last night. But this thing, I haven't done anything. And the colors are amazing. The blacks are very deep and rich. I'm trying to think if there's any examples where so far, and it's only been 3 days, have I noticed any places where it wasn't? No. I don't notice anything there where the blacks aren't performing as up to par. There is a slight gray. It's not, again, it's not as inky as an OLED, but it's damn close. I mean, real, very goddamn close to what a OLED would get you. So this is me, and this is my day 3, too early to fully review, but very happy customer, very pleased customer with my choice, yay me, for choosing the TCL QM8K to be the focal piece of my living room cinema experience. So I finally have a screen that meets the needs, my standards of immersive experience that matches my sound. So I would argue that this is a better experience than it was at the movies. So for different reasons. So a movie cinema, which I do love them, please go support your local theaters, are great experiences. But being able to have this level of experience at home really makes it more selective as to whether I go to the movies or if I wait for it to go to streaming and then watch it here, because it's more cost effective. So that's my trip, guys. This is what Thanksgiving has been to me. This is my early Christmas and birthday gift, because my birthday follows Christmas, to myself, and by extension, my gift to my family is this experience. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please comment. I love to read your comments. Well, most of them. Some of you, you need a belt, but otherwise, come strong, be positive, and we'll have a great conversation. Love talking to you guys. I know I've been off the radar for a minute. I made a whole video as to why that was, but starting to get things back under belt, and we'll move forward as we go through. The support, the comments have been great. I appreciate you all. Have a good day. Hope you're having a great, great, great day.